Right now I need another project, like I need a hole in the head, but I picked this up earlier this week because I couldn't pass it up. I actually had seen this motorcycle earlier this spring at a customer's house, and his teenage son had picked this up and was trying to fix it up, and he didn't really know what he was doing, and he proceeded to pretty much like take the whole thing all apart. The dad kept telling me about a problem with the Kickstarter, but I couldn't really see anything wrong with the Kickstarter, and it did have compression, and at the time when I saw it, it had the original spark plug still in it, and that was actually there was no spark plug, so I was worried about water having gotten into the cylinder. But when I put my finger on there and cranked it over by hand, I could feel compression, so I knew it had compression, and I had checked actually, and it even had spark, so I was kind of surprised that it wasn't a running bike. But then when I smelt the gas in the gas tank, it was very stale old gas, and I could tell that he hadn't taken the carburetor apart and did any carburetor work, so I figured that was probably a big part of the problem. Well, we talked about it, and needless to say, a few months later, you know, here we are, October, I go back to the same customer's house, and lo and behold, the bike's still sitting there in pieces, and apparently the only thing the kid had done since then was get a new spark plug and try and get it running with a new spark plug. Other than that, pretty much hadn't done anything to it. So we cut a deal, and I got it real cheap, and that's why I decided to get it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered. I like 4-stroke bikes more than 2 strokes. And then, you know, the other thing is that this is a 1989. I think it's a CR250. I'm not positive on that. I thought I remembered seeing somewhere on it, but we've got more components to it. Here's the front wheel with one of the forks still attached, and then the other fork tube was separate. The rear wheel was on there, but the nut for the axle bolt was off, so it was easy enough to slide off. This is the seat. Clearly it's a Honda CR. Seat's pretty ripped. Turn the seat over the other way. You can see the seat's pretty damaged. It's got an aftermarket, but it looks of it, it's got an aftermarket front suspension. So anyways, what I was saying was, it looks like this has got an aftermarket front suspension components. I'm not sure, I'm not positive, but this says AMA Pro Racing Dunlop stickers. I mean, anybody can stick stickers on stuff, but I don't know what the stock suspension would look like on a 1989 CR, but that actually looks newer to me. I'm also looking at that air filter and thinking that's an aftermarket air filter. That looks like it might be a K&N even on that thing. And then, let's see. Alright, well, the size mystery is pretty much confirmed now right here. 249 cm with the little 3. Of course, cm3 means centimeters cubed, which is cubic centimeters, and 249 is the displacement of the engine. 249 cubic centimeters, which means this is a CR250. Other aftermarket items, it's got an FMF pipe on it. This is probably a complete FMF exhaust system, racing exhaust system. The expansion chamber, I think, is supposed to be on the stock one would be black. This one's stainless, or whatever that is. And then up here, these pipes, these handlebars, they say carbon bar 1010 high tensile stainless. So these look like aftermarket handlebars. I don't know what this says on it, MSR. So it's got somebody put some money into this bike back in the day. I don't know how old it is, and it's also got some issues. And we can see right here, this is quite the interesting setup somebody put here on this for a spacer, and that is pretty weak as far as that goes. That's small potatoes. That doesn't look like that belongs there. The plastics are kind of rough. The front fender looked okay, the rear fender looked pretty shot. As I already mentioned, the seat was pretty shot. But I figure if I can get it to actually run at all, I might go through the trouble of putting it back together just for giggles. Alright, so I just tilted the bike up on this side, on the other side there, so now I can see that, yeah, this is FMF Gold Series exhaust system that's on here, and then also I see this is a Boyesen Factory Racing cover, which I'm thinking they probably wouldn't change the cover. That might be a performance clutch that's inside there maybe, and then they put the cover on to go with the clutch. I don't know. I'm not a motorcycle expert by any stretch of the imagination. And then this cover right here, I see our good old friend Mr. J.B. Weld is all over this. So that cover must have been pretty badly broken for somebody to do that to it. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm hoping that, yeah, it looks like they J.B. welded it off the bike so that it shouldn't be J.B. welded to the bike. Because if it's attached to the crankcase with J.B. weld, I'll have to grind it off. But that's the kind of thing there, that little cover there, could probably find that used on eBay cheap enough that it might be worth investing in replacing that altogether if everything else pans out. And that's a very big if, by the way. I like how that really is scraping on that bad. Looking from this angle here, we can see that radiator got biffed pretty badly, but surprisingly, I think I had checked and there was still coolant in there, so apparently it's holding coolant. Alright, so just for the heck of it, let's see what this sounds like compression-wise. Oh, there we go. The Kickstarter just slipped, so there is a problem with the Kickstarter, but if I do it slow, I can get it to turn over. So maybe there are some damaged teeth on this thing after all. Alright, now when I saw this bike originally in the spring, it was sitting outside and there was no spark plug in it. It was basically wide open like this. Now at some point he bought a brand new spark plug by the looks of it and tried that. Doesn't look like, maybe it did run on this spark plug. Well, either that's an unusual spark plug or the center electrode on that spark plug's burned away. Not sure. Anyways, just now when I was just cranking it over a little bit, the spark plug was loose and we could see just a little bit of water coming out, so I suspect there's water in the cylinder there, and there's also a little bit dripped out of the exhaust pipe, so it's gonna.
The chain's in the way.
Oh, you know why? Because it's in gear. We don't want it in gear. Well, the battery's dying on the camera, so I think I'm not going to try and start it right now. There we go.